If you're listening on podcast, be sure to tune in to our YouTube channel on YouTube at Wild and Weird WV.
Welcome to Wild and Weird Radio, a Wild and Weird West Virginia podcast.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Wild and Weird Radio Live. This is our live show of the podcast. It gets a little bit more interactive, a lot more fun. Tonight, we are going to have a good time. We've got I got some good stuff planned for you. And we also have a special guest over there. If you haven't, he's over that way. If you haven't seen him, there he is, Mr. Tony Breeden. And of course, I'm Ron. That is Brandon in the center. And Joe's not with us tonight. He will be back next week. Everything should be back on track there. I know we've had some interesting issues getting everybody back in and whatnot. We tried to do a live last week, just to let you guys know, but we were at the Hocking Hills Bigfoot Festival, and we were in a time machine. We were literally in a time machine. There was a motel, and the motel looked exactly like when you stepped through the door. It was 1978.
That's not good.
It was 1978, Tony.
Not good.
It was interesting. I will just say that much for you. It was not bad. It was not terrible. It was hot. But yeah, it was definitely 1978. So what I'm saying is Joe's not here tonight to watch the board and keep track. So I'm going to have to be going back and forth doing that. It's going to get a little hectic, but please do post all your questions and your comments, etc. over there. The more the merrier. We are going to be getting to them as fast as we possibly can. At this point, Brandon, you got anything you want to hit on there real quick?
Do you want to touch anything on the news?
We can. There's some interesting stuff going on with Grush right now that I'm not too fond of. Let me actually load up one of those clips for those who don't know. It seems like our whistleblower is. What would you say, Brandon? Kind of under attack, right?
Yeah, he's getting hot. He's getting hit high and low with all kinds of different things now.
Yeah,
and I'm going to assume it's probably Arrow doing all that.
Why, it's hard to say. I mean, we do know that Kirkpatrick fired back at him pretty much for saying what he said, even though what he said was pretty much true, right?
Yep.
But it does appear that someone is going after Grush. But what's really dirty about it, and I've heard several things on this. I've heard him say, well, it's not really. No one really leaked it. It was available to find, etc. Maybe. But whoever did this went after a very personal aspect of that man's life, and that was his PTSD, and basically was trying to use that as a means to discredit him. Now, what that really does, let me explain to you what that really does. That tells people who already have PTSD, who already have issues, not to seek help because it can be used against you, apparently, at this point. That is dirty, my friend. That is dirty and that is wrong. And I really don't care if Grush is telling the truth or not. The point being at that point, to me, is that they would do that to someone.
It sounds like witness
that to me
intimidation,
feels
too.
like a desperation move.
Yeah, that's a desperation move. Exactly. That's what that is, Tony.
That's
Yes.
so low that it's obvious.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why not just say, yeah, we did it and be done with it at that point? Because
You're actually going to get more bad flack for that, and people are going to assume that there's actually something to hide because you threw that out there, and the first, I mean, what did they say during the Senate hearing? The senator said, if anybody goes after anybody here that's testified, we're going to take a really low view of it. It's like they're testing the waters.
It is. It's exactly what's going on. And it's like, you really? I mean, did you really need to go there? No. So let me go over to the board here real quick and start welcoming some of our folks. We got the Dooster over there, Cryptids and Critters Paranormal. Welcome, Dewey. James Boggs is here. We've got, who else we got over here listening or watching? We got Teresa. I see Teresa's over there. Larry Hose is here. Welcome, Larry. Fish Belly's back. Angie, there you go. Chris Coots, howdy, howdy. Spooky Appalachia, welcome, welcome. Facebook user with a little alien head, hello, thank you. Brandon, I don't know why I almost read your name, but obviously you're there. Scott Holbrook. We have another Facebook user. Well, actually, we have two more Facebook users, I think. Scott Holbrook is here. Adam Good. Adam is back. And that, if for you folks who don't know, Adam is our what is it, executive producer, right? That's him, yeah. Executive producer. I want to give a real quick thanks to everybody here who I'm going to call out. Adam Good, Teresa from Teresa's Haunted History of the Tri-State, Dewey Edwards, James Boggs, Spooky Appalachia, Larry Hose, Guitars and Chains Craig, Travis Orednick, Jeffrey Steele, Russ Bailey, Chris Coots. I don't know why it says Coots still, but it's Chris Coots. You guys, the show wouldn't be on without you. These are our guys who are supporting the show through purchase of the super stickers and super chats and all that stuff. And we really thank you guys absolutely for that. And just to let you know how much we thank you for that. There you go. So, all right. Tonight we have with us a true legend. No, it's just Tony. No.
It's just me.
No.
Your boss.
Tony.
And dudes, people with money of all ages. Never known. That's not
Tony is an author and a very charismatic and hilarious individual. If you have not gotten to go up to his booth and actually talk to him.
Means he doesn't agree with anything I have to say. When he says hilarious, that's what he's saying. My medical records will be released by Ron Lanham next. You watch.
Oh, James Boggs, thank you, my friend. James just gave us $10 right there for James. Let's pop that up for him. Thank you, brother. That
Yes, sir.
helps to keep it all free and going forever, I guess, as Joe likes to say. Tony, how many books do you have at this point?
Looking on the shelf, and it's at least 10.
Yeah, it's a lot of books. I had no idea that you I had no idea that you had so many books.
Mostly fiction.
Yeah.
I write the sort of fiction that my 10-year-old self would like to read. Action-packed. I grew up in like the day of Ray Harryhausen, and when Spielberg actually liked people still and had some sort of optimism left. So I grew up with all of these creature films and Indiana Jones and all this neat stuff, and that's the kind of stuff I like to write.
Yeah.
Sci-fi, a little bit of fantasy rolled in, that sort of thing. But I also write nonfiction books, and it turns out that 2, working on number 3, are deal with aliens and UFOs and monsters and still stuff I like.
Yeah.
It interests me. I
absolutely.
do.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who weren't there, you guys do the paranormal discussion group, and
my wife does that. I sit back and enjoy the ride.
Well, you were actually part of it. You did the presentation, and it was a really good presentation.
I did one on Gray Barker, and the other one was on
the extra dimensional hypothesis. Yeah, and it was really good.
Thank you.
Like really good. You probably, should have briefed Congress on it because apparently they, anything would work with them at this point. They don't know what's going on. So
They really don't.
they wouldn't have investigated further to even prove that you were right or wrong. It would just been okay. That's cool. This guy said it's real. But no, I thought that was very good. And you mentioned Gray Barker. I know how you feel about Gray, and
Do you though?
I think I
I'm
do.
not sure Gray knew how he felt about Gray.
Yeah, I think you do. You know, Joe actually hails from the Barker lineage at some point, and so he's always taken up for Gray. But we all know that Gray did some. What's the word I should use here, Tony?
He was a hoaxer. He was.
I was going to say shady stuff, but
artist. He was a yellow journalist. He was all of the things that, frankly, if I could get away with, I would probably do myself.
right,
I love his sense of humor.
Right.
Does it help investigation and research? No, it does not.
no,
Not at all.
no, and I think
Real
we
fun
go ahead.
Jerome Clark said that Gray Barker was a self-professed hoaxer. He's half right. Gray never admitted in his lifetime that he hoaxed a thing. Everybody and their brother, after he died, was free to admit suddenly, Gray did it. Gray did it. And the degree to which they did it, where they all blamed it on Gray while trying to gloss over what they did, is what's the most interesting to me. It's like, guys, every last one of you were party to that.
Yeah,
The party was going on and you were having a good time. But he did it. But you have to understand that he went through kind of lows and highs as to his faith in whether or not he was ever going to find an answer to the mystery. And towards the end of his life, he was actually, even though he was writing about stuff like Vegetable Man and going back more into the Philadelphia experiment and the Men in Black, had he lived for another 10 years, I think you would have seen a little more serious side of him. He was actually getting more serious towards the end of things, like he considered.
Oh,
Look, I think I found my love for UFOs again.
Ada Cox, God bless you, 1999. Everybody, that's so. You know what that is going to give us? I think that needs. What do you think, guys? One or two? One or two? Two. And now the new people who just started tuning in are like, what in the world am I watching? This is the part we have to explain to you guys. Sky Daddy, Matthew McConaughey, blesses those who bless us. And we can thank our executive producer, Adam Good, for that, because go back and watch the first live episode, and it was born there. Tony, Gray, let's. We know that he embellished some stuff. What was the first part? What started it? Let's go there. Can you go back?
What started it was when he first came in. He investigated the Flatwoods monster thing. That's the thing that just got him in. It was in his backyard, and he investigated it. He was there with Ivan T. Sanderson. And
Right.
by all accounts, he got a lot of acclaim for how seriously he took the investigation, how well he conducted his interviews. That's how he started his reputation out. Very serious. A little bit of humor thrown in. He'd always been a writer. In fact, he was the editor of his school newspaper for most of the 4 years that he was in college at Glenville State. And he'd always written. When he got out of there, he wrote to the different motion picture industry magazines and submitted articles. And he always showed the same sort of sense of humor that he had. So it was a good combination. He could tell a good story, but he also got his facts straight. Then he got involved with the International Flying Saucer Bureau, Albert K. Bender.
Okay, so this is where Bender comes in. We've talked about him before. So.
they were, because he was getting published in Fate magazine, uh, Barker, and he had launched his Saucerian newsletter. Because he had done those things, he was starting to get noticed everywhere, and he was paying attention to the different UFO periodicals that were out at the time. So he notices in Fate magazine an advertisement for the International Flying Saucer Bureau, and he writes off to them and says, "I'd like to join." They not only take his membership, they offer him a job as the chief investigator for the IFSB.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
They formed a.
So that's
nice
how he
investigative
became.
group.
I've seen his little card, the picture of his little card.
Yeah, he has a nice little card there, and you can see that he's like, and they really were international. They had members in Australia, New Zealand, France, England, Canada, United States. They had members all over, and they had several hundred members, as a matter of fact. It was a good time to be into the flying saucer biz.
Yeah.
It really was. But Bender, he's always been interested in movies and horror, that sort of thing, and the strange stuff. And, so this was just sort of a natural extension of that for him. Well, at some point, Bender says that, hey, I think I figured out the mystery to the flying saucers. They did a couple things that I thought were interesting. You know about the World Contact Day, right?
Mm-hmm. World Contact Day. Yeah.
That's right. That was the IFSB.
Mm-hmm.
They said, everybody send out your thoughts to the space intelligences. We're going to try and get a hold of somebody.
Basically, one of the first CE5s, right? I mean, that's kind of what they were doing.
So, okay, it's worth a shot. Everybody did it. The answer seemed to be that he needed to shut up and get out of the flying saucer business.
That's what I got out
Not
of
an
it.
answer
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, that's what I got out of it too. Yeah, that's yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like when Christians pray their prayers and they're like, Lord, please do this, and the answer is no, and they're like, what? It kind of, I think it, but he suddenly publishes in the October, what was it, 53 or 54 issue of Space Review, which was their magazine, the International Flying Saucer Bureau's magazine, that he was getting out of it. He wasn't going to publish another thing about flying saucers, and that people in the flying saucer business needed to be very careful about what they did next. And then he literally closed shop.
That's right. Yeah.
And Barker was floored. He said, "There's got to be something going on here." Barker had gotten his own visit from somebody in some sort of official capacity. They had the story is that they had gotten a hold of his membership card that he gave out to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
A hitchhiker, and that hitchhiker was in the hospital. They were trying to identify John Doe, and so they came and they asked him about it. That's the story he got, and it shook him up a little bit because a lot of people don't know that Ray Barker was a closeted gay man in West Pygott, Virginia.
Yeah.
At a time that it was not good to be that type of person at all.
Right.
Because we were in the middle of McCarthyism. There was a lot of so when he got a call from the official government, he was none too pleased about it, and he started asking everybody else if they'd gotten a visit, and Bender said no, I hadn't. And then suddenly Bender said, I was visited by 3 men in dark suits, wearing hats in the style of the Hamburg style hat. It's funny that he picks on the style of hat. It was interesting to me. I don't know why. And that they had told, he wouldn't answer very many questions with more than, I can't answer that, yes or no. It kind of reminds me of the sort of Senate hearings that we hear.
Yeah, I know what we just heard. That's
yes, no, or I can't answer that.
Yeah.
He answered like that.
Yeah.
Whole big long string of questions, and the only thing they could figure out is that he had figured out what the answer was, they assumed, and that he couldn't say another word, and he was out, and it scared him to death. So Barker spent the next several years trying to figure out what that was, and in the course of his investigation, he found out that there was a guy, Fulton, in Australia that had sort of the same similar situation. That Damon Metris in Canada, I believe it was, they called him Smallwood in the book. That incidentally is where we get the name Smallwood in place of Derenberger in the Mothman Prophecies movie.
Oh,
That's why they that was an homage to that.
homage to that.
They
Yeah.
knew too much about
That's
flying
interesting.
saucers. And he ended up writing his book in 1956. They knew too much about flying saucers, and he was everywhere for that. But there are traces of definite fiction in that they knew too much about flying saucers, and I think personally that part of it was embellishment to just make it sound more interesting, and other things were made to purposely obfuscate a few things that might point to him in a less than favorable light.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Well, that makes sense, actually.
But I think he was still fairly serious at that point. He'd met Mosley,
Yeah.
Jim Mosley, the clown prince of ufology, or ufology, as Emmett Barker used to call it.
Yeah, this is something people don't really realize. Barker really didn't believe, did he? I mean, that was one of the
he
things.
lost faith pretty quickly.
Yeah.
By the time we get to 1958, where what he's the thing is he was writing during the contactee era,
Mm-hmm.
and that meant that he was dealing with a lot of these contactees' claims and having to go. You just happened to meet a angelic looking
Right.
Venusian in the middle of the desert, and everybody else stayed back. Nobody else saw it, just you. And now you got these pictures, and they look. Is that GE written across the landing gear, the light bulb shaped landing gear I see there? So, and that brings us to the strafe letter, of course. Barker and Mosley got a hold of some government stationery, some official government stationery. And they decided that they would play a prank on George Adamski and several other members of the UFO community that they thought were just too serious. They had two classes of people back then, well, three. They had the what Barker referred to as the kooky ones. They had middle ufology, which is where Mosley and Barker thought they were. And then they had serious ufology. And by this, you meant nuts and bolts. It's definitely nuts and bolts military, or it's from outer space, and we will hear nothing else. And that's how they were.
Yeah.
They poo-pooed and picked apart everything. They were just no fun. And Barker and Mosley were the type of people that were having a lot of fun. So they got really drunk one night, just to underscore that point. And they decided that they were going to type up some letters to different people, including to George Adamski. And George Adamski's was basically said, "Hey, Jorge Adamski, we think you're on the right track. Keep up the good work. We can't say anything officially. Don't spread this to anybody, but good job, man. You're doing it. We like it." And of course, the first thing he did was wave the papers in the air, going, "Look, they've official confirmation from the government."
Of course.
You could not resist that one. And the thing was, is the reason that they did it to George Adamski was different from the reason they did it to everybody else. By the way, they also were going to send a letter to James Mosley's father, who was in the military. And at the last second, James Mosley was the one who mailed all of the letters because he could go to Jersey and mail them from a place that was not, Clarksburg, West Virginia, and make it
Right. Yeah.
Before he decided to he dropped every one but that last one in there because he started thinking about what his father was going to do if he ever found out. So that was the end of that. So one of the letters did never get sent, but they had a copy of it because you got to understand that they people back then regularly kept not only copies of what they received, but what they sent.
Mm-hmm.
So we can now go to the Ray Barker collection and look
Right.
at a whole conversation. I wish I had the other thing they had because they used to send cassette tapes to each other and just keep going on a cassette tape and have a whole running conversation. I wish I had some of those. Those are neat. But in any case, people started to suspect Barker almost instantly. But Barker did it for a really good reason. Him and Mosley had already figured out that Adamski was lying. Whatever had happened with Orthon in the desert, whether that was true or not, these pictures that he was posting to people of all of these spacecraft were lies.
Right.
And they could prove it. So knowing that Mosley was getting ready to post a big expose of Adamski, they decided to stoke the fire. And they hit Adamski right in his ego. And I really think, I mean, from a marketing perspective, that was smart. They stoked the guy. He proclaimed, hey, the government believes me. They believe me. I've got proof right here. And they were setting him up for
Wow.
just out of the park, baby. And they did.
Wow. That's amazing.
Really good way to sell newspapers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 But people figured out pretty quick that it might be Barker. Alonzo Dove in particular was like, isn't this the same exact typewriter pattern as Ray Barker's machine? And he turned him in. Barker did get a visit from the FBI about the straight letter, not because they cared what he wrote to George Adamski, but because they were afraid of what somebody would do if they misused official government stationery. You know, things like calls of war, have the president say things he wasn't supposed to say, that sort of thing. And according to James Mosley, mysteriously enough, Barker's typewriter ended up missing. And in fact, it was smashed to bits and deposited in the concrete of a construction site nearby, never to be seen again.
Wow.
So he wasn't about to get caught with that one.
Is that not amazing?
But he kept, I mean, his last book, what is it? Men in Black, The Secret Terror Among Us, right? There's something on Straith in that saying, who could have done the Straith letter? We'll never know. It's a big mystery. People even pointed to me. It wasn't me. I would certainly never hoax anybody. Right? And of course, the second when he was on his deathbed, Jim Mosley looked at him in the hospital and said, if you die, I'm going to tell everybody about the Straith letter. And he said that Barker's response was, why would you want to do that? Within a month of him dying in 1984, Mosley had it all over the place.
Wow.
So, since then, people have come out of the woodwork to go, my friend, the great big hoaxer, I'm not taking you outside right now. My dog.
I hear it.
Can you hear her?
Yeah.
Eleanor, beast.
That's great.
But yeah, at that point, I think that things started to take kind of a turn in Barker's life, and he had been investigating. He also found out that his serious work didn't really sell as much as what he called to his family the kooky stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he just started. He did try one big contactee first. But the whole thing with Howard Menger did not work out at all. Howard and his wife had a similar story to George Adamski's, but the second that the book was written and he was expected to go around and make press appearances to promote the book, Menger vanished. He left Barker hanging. So between it hitting him professionally and him sort of like catching all these stories and going, okay, am I ever going to get to the bottom of this? Because every one of these things just kind of muddied the waters further. They had more and more theories as they went along. And if you read through the Saucerian, it's insanely interesting just how many theories they bounce back and forth between.
Oh, yeah.
Everything. If you look in there, they were considering the 4D hypothesis, what we call the extraterrestrial hypothesis, way back in the 50s. Yeah. And speaking of that, I mean, when I watched that hearing, the first thing I thought when I was looking at all of it was, we've already been over all this.
Yeah. It's all been done. It's just you didn't listen.
Yeah, we're regurgitating the same hearing, the same everything.
Yep.
It's nothing that Rush or any of the rest of them said was anything new, except I really like that one flying saucer that's a Borg cube with a.
That's great, isn't it?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
The
but,
Borg, it's a Borg in a bubble, Tony. That's what it is. It's a Borg,
Borg
in a
in a
bubble.
bubble, right?
It's a Borg in a bubble, man.
And you already have people that are naysaying it, and
Of course.
it irritates me. I am cheerfully skeptical. You know that.
Sure, you have to be. That's what I think. That's important.
I don't like hubris. I don't like it when somebody goes, "Well,
Yep.
I just examined the photo, and it's
Yep.
definitely going to be this," and I'm like,
Yeah.
The government has these.
Yeah.
It has. I know what you think about military intelligence, but they have really good minds working on this.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Vested interest in having an answer, and you came up with it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think they probably looked at that first.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. That stuff irks me. It really does. But and you know, I think it is important to look at this because we have been here before. This is what people don't really realize. I guess because it happened years ago, man. I mean, you're looking at like a possibility of a 70-some-year-old, almost 80-year cover up. If according to Grush, over 90. But these hearings have happened before, though.
In particular, there was a huge press release and statement from the government that really caused Blue Book to be a thing, kind of like how we've got Arrow now.
Arrow, yeah.
Based on the 1952 Washington merry-go-round,
Yep.
where for 2 weekends in a row, we saw alien spacecraft, or whatever they were, flying saucers, but they showed up on radar.
Yes.
And they said, "Oh, they're temperature inversions," but nobody who worked at any of those radar stations or knew anything about radar believed it for a second. That's the problem. So they had to come out with a big press release, and don't worry, they're not a threat, even though there was newspaper headlines saying, "Shoot them down."
Right.
That was the standing order. If you see them, shoot them down. That sounds like a threat to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So,
I mean, look at the Battle of LA. You remember what happened?
We had the guy saying we're going to investigate it. We had the official investigation wing of the military show up and be formed and reassuring it. All of this has happened.
Yep.
So how do we get out of the loop?
Yeah, because it is. It's just
around for a reason because we're on it.
Yep, you're absolutely right. I mean, these cards have been played before. The only difference is it does seem that for whatever reason there's a pushback inside this time, and we didn't have that before.
Well, we had a pushback before. I mean, I can look at old newspaper accounts. I really like going to newspapers.com. I like sifting through the old original sources through the UFO magazines, and you can see where Frank Edwards was shut down hard for trying to say anything about any of this. You can see where different people in the military were suddenly let go, and the disparaging remarks would be made about them after they had said something positive about. We've always had the problem where airline pilots, and they brought both of these up, airline pilots and military pilots don't feel safe to say anything about flying saucers. They don't want to be grounded. I mean, their whole point was getting, to be able to fly.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to be limited in, their ability to go up the ladder. That's something else that Rush mentioned specifically. Yep. So these things have always happened. We didn't have the internet then, so it's harder to pull that stuff forward and say, listen, this is a repeat.
That is a good point.
Definitely a repeat.
That is a very good point right there. You guys out there in listener land and viewer land, you got any questions? Go ahead and pop them up here. We're also going to talk about something that I found out this past weekend at Hocking Hills. For those who don't know, that's where we ended up at. And it was an incredible show. I've actually got a couple little clips here for you guys. But we got to talk to a lot of people about some really weird stuff. And that's typically not what you get at these kind of shows. But here, I'll let you see the table real quick. This is from behind the scenes. Look, they even made us our own little banner. You'll get to see that here in a second. But this was Friday.
Half day in?
Yeah.
So, yeah. This is the next day. This is the next day. We're out here. It's 1,000 degrees.
About 1,000.
We actually had parts of our radio start to melt, so we had to take that apart.
Yeah.
Like it's literally that hot.
The Wild and Weird radio reactor melted down, so in order to avoid a catastrophic failure, we had to pull it off the table. That's correct.
But it's been awesome. You guys out here at Hocking Hills have been great. I cannot wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be insane.
It's going to be incredible, especially being next to that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Over there. That
We
guy.
got trouble.
Right there.
That's trouble.
That
Going
guy.
wrong.
That's trouble right here. That's trouble.
Yeah, man. It's been a hoot. It's been a hoot. We're having a great time.
Yeah.
They've done put a really good show here together. They've got a ton of people out here. There's people walking all up and down the streets right now. It's just coming in big waves.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And, then
And the
tomorrow's-
food is awesome.
Oh, yeah, food's good. And tomorrow's the main day. This is just day one.
This is just the primer. Just the primer.
It's definitely going to get wild and weird, guys.
Oh,
let's,
you know it.
We'll check back in.
It definitely did get wild and weird, and that was a lot of people.
Oh,
That was a massive
Big as
amount of people.
Mothman.
It was Tony. Yes, on day two, it was absolutely that big, and it was a monster. I mean, it was hot. That was day one there. Like we said, the radio melted. We're not joking. The hot glue that held the parts in the reactor on top of the Wild and Weird radio actually melted inside. So yeah, it was hot, guys. It was really, really hot. Here's a little banner. Here's the banner. See, there's our banner. They ruined it by putting Joe in it, but
All right.
yeah, there's behind the scenes. You don't get to see that too often. But
Oh, that poor guy in that Bigfoot costume. I bet he.
there were three. There were three in a Bigfoot costume, and I felt sorry for them. Almost like, this is torture. What are you guys doing? I mean, and you know what's amazing is those guys were doing that for nothing. By the way, just to let you know. Let's pop up some of our comments that were coming in out there whilst we were doing it. I see Adam Good. He's over there talking. I don't even know where this came from, but apparently he is a cult leader now. So congratulations, Adam. Everyone has to have a course in life that they must go and travel. And for you,
The cult of good.
I mean, sure, why not? It's all good. Just, keep it clean. Keep it clean.
It's I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I think it works. Dewey, we had talked before. Dewey is, for you guys who don't know, is very into the Thomas Mantell incident. Has it in a book here. Is working on another book, and they're shooting a documentary on the actual grounds of where it happened. An absolute fascinating story. Can't wait to get him back on and actually do a whole episode on just Thomas Mantell. I think that's one of the stories that needs to be told that doesn't get told. It hardly ever gets told.
One that captivated Gray's audience in the beginning too. I mean, that's
Yeah.
one of them that they went to as their go-to. Listen,
Yeah.
pilot lost his life,
Dude. Yeah.
and against one of these, when he tried to get close enough to one of these flying saucers,
Yeah.
that's how incapable our craft are of catching them.
That's right. Yes. Yes,
A point,
absolutely.
again, that was reiterated in that hearing.
Oh, 100%. That's a huge turnout. Yes, Teresa, it was a massive turnout. To say that it was huge is an absolute understatement. And yeah, that was Wild Bill. He was set up right beside us, and he made the show for us. He's just a great guy. Me and Bill, we became friends at the beginning of the year, and we had another show, and I did not know, but he had seen our presentation, and it hooked him. And he very much respects the research that we do. He's also an incredible witness, by the way. I know a lot of people don't like the show. I don't like the show either. That's okay. I like Bill. I mean, Bill's awesome. I even told him that. I was like, I don't care for the show, but I like you because he's legit. He's not acting, but he's had some incredible encounters as well. And when you hear him tell those encounters, it's like, wow. I mean, not what you hear on the show. This is legit encounters, and he's seen other things too, which is even more awesome.
Well, you spend time out in the woods, you'll have all kinds of weird stuff happen to you,
Yeah.
especially around here.
Yeah, for sure. We got Nancy White. Hello, Miss Nancy. Good to see you. Great to see you. Nancy is a connoisseur of some of my art, along with Adam Good, who runs the Good Gallery, as he likes to call it. Oh, James asked a question. Hey guys, what about the aliens attacking the village in Peru? Okay, as you may or may not know, James, when we get news all the time. I mean, literally, it's all the time. Somebody's sending us Reddit or Twitter or, something in a message, and we look at that and we try to figure out if it's something that we should address when we get it, or if it's something we need to follow up on before we put it out there like everyone else just puts it out there, and it turns into a firestorm, and we don't know what really is going on. Chose to wait on this a little bit, and didn't respond, didn't post anything about it. Wanted to see where it was actually going to go, and it didn't disappoint. Apparently there's some incidents going on over there where they believe that there are these humanoid beings or insectoids or whatever they are. Honest to God, to me, it sounds like something out of Scooby-Doo. That's what it sounds like. This sounds like a caper. It doesn't sound like a sighting or an invasion. It sounds like a caper. It sounds like someone is trying to scare someone off of this property because, so it's old Mr. Smithers in the, mask.
Mr. Haney.
Well, what's funny is they keep talking about these people who've been injured, but they haven't gave any specifics on exactly what happened, what injuries they sustained.
Yeah. Well, there's some really good Reddit posts on it of folks who have actually gone over there at this point. Because, guys, this started in July. I don't know if you're aware of that or not. You're just, probably just hearing about it. But it started in July. And at the end of July, actually. And they've actually had folks go over there, and they're like, this isn't real. This isn't happening. So, of course, I don't believe anything, so it doesn't really matter if they say it's real or if it's fake. It's like, somewhere in between, that's where you're going to find the truth. You know how it is with the lie sandwich. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going on. I find it interesting that it parallels some of that stuff that was going on over there in Vegas, which just turned out to be a big nothing sandwich, as I expected it would be.
I like that you said sandwich instead of burger because there wasn't much meat on that.
There's no meat on that, buddy. It's just like a tiny little sliver of bologna or something. That's
like a bean and toast sandwich.
A bean and toast. Yeah, that's it.
Beans and toast.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. But of course, we're going to keep our ears open on this. I'm not going to say it's 100% fake. Again, there's a lot going on. I don't necessarily believe it's 100% fake, and I don't believe it's 100% real. I think there's a deeper story there. Like, for real, I think this is like a Scooby-Doo thing. I think someone's trying to scare somebody and use this for their own advantage. Now, what are they trying to do?
It could just be remote villagers blowing one sighting way out of proportion, like the chupacabra.
Could be, man. I don't know. I mean, that's a fact. Look here. Ada said, Nancy, are you ready to leave Saturday to Racine? We'll leave at 7 a.m. There you go. They're coming to Wood Booger Jamboree, guys. That's where they're coming. And it's going to be a blast. I can tell you that right now. We've got, we're working on making it very memorable. That's what I'm going to say about that. We're making it very memorable for those who are going to be there. Looks like there is a little bit of a chance for rain at this point, but everything's pretty much covered, so it doesn't really matter. It's an outdoor event, of course, and we've got tents. I mean, you've got your vendors have got tents. You're under a million trees there. You've got shelters, so it's gonna be a fun one anyway. And if it does do anything, it'll just pass through and make it hotter than Hades, I'm sure. What else we got? Bill, what is Bill going to be at Flatwoods? Not to my knowledge. No, not to my knowledge, unless, it just, he shows up. He's not scheduled. Let's put it that way. So no. That reminds me, my husband submitted a sighting a few days ago. He's had some weird experiences over the past few months while out walking the dog or sitting at the dog park. Wow, now that I'd like to hear about, because it apparently, I don't know if you know this, Tony, but there were some sightings that took place at the end of July this year.
Mm-hmm.
And they stretched all the way from Pennsylvania all the way down into West Virginia.
So we've had another flap?
Yeah, we had a mini one, is what it seemed like. It was like a couple of days. I was sharing it back and forth with Stan. Well, actually, I was collecting it here, and Stan sent me a report, and then he was like, hey, I got word that this happened in your area, and sure enough, it did. It did happen in our area, and we actually had a write-up on it that he put up there in his newsletter. But it wasn't just us. Like I said, there's been a mini flap, and it's kind of weird. I'm not really sure what was going on there. I know a lot of people had said that, well, there were meteors and whatnot, and yeah, there were. I saw a really good meteor. Yeah, there were, but what we got reported wasn't. They don't do that. But speaking of meteors, I did get to see a really good video over the weekend down at Hocking Hills. One of the guys, he had a video of this thing going down over his area where he lives, and I kid you not, when it exploded, pieces were falling off, and you could see them below the tree lines.
That's one thing about Tunguska that I don't believe. I don't
get
believe
over
in
there.
Exploding meteor, because there have been chunks of it.
Get over there and get it. So hopefully someone's going to find some pieces. Ashley's here.
Russia, right?
What's that?
So, he was mentioning the was it
Tunguska?
Tunguska. Yes.
Thank you. I was going to pronounce
Siberia.
it wrong. What?
Yeah, that's Siberia. Yeah.
You were saying you didn't believe that was a meteor.
Yeah, I don't think so. You know, you can go up there today, and there are still trees laying on the ground from that, and that was over 100 years ago.
It's an extreme remote site.
Yeah, it is.
And,
it's also a huge area. It's like 200 square miles of flattened trees.
Yeah, the theory is that it buried itself, but, I don't know. Never know.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if it exploded in midair like it did, some of the chunks should have hit the ground.
They should. There's a midair burst. Ashley's made it. Good to see you, Ashley. Good to see you out there at Hocking Hills as well. That was awesome. Let's see. Who else we got? Anyone else? Nope. Okay. I got another little clip here somewhere. Oh yeah. This was the. You'll like this. You'll like this one. I think this is our lecture. Actually, it's part of it, not all of it, because it's way too long. But this is how it began for those who didn't get to see it. It's pretty cool.
All right, I think we're ready to go up here. I was telling these guys outside, you must have a really good presentation when Cliff Barrett is your opening act. Right. So these two have my tremendous respect. I follow them both on Facebook because I drive through West Virginia to get here. There are no hills in West Virginia. There are no flat spaces in West Virginia except the interstate. They hike straight up and down when they go into the woods, and they do it a lot. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mr. Ron Lanham, Mr. Joe Perdue.
We literally question everything because we've gone out in the field, we've had various reports of different things and other things that are coming with it. We do not shy away from that. So you're going to hear some different stuff, but it's all going to have data. So, and there was this little thing that happened.
Yeah, hey, how about that? We actually won the 2022 Bigfoot Researchers of the Year, and that was pretty cool. Weirdos out of the group.
Yes.
And they're like, those guys. Yes. That's who we want.
And that is exactly who we want. So with us, everything literally goes on the table, guys. We document all occurrences, no matter how strange they may be, and believe you me, they get very strange sometimes.
Now, what's really funny is this was a Bigfoot presentation. This was, and typically you don't get non-flesh and blood presentations at these. I just want to make that clear. To say that it was taken very, very well is an understatement. It was taken very, very well. And I I want to share with you just one more part of this, and this was the question thing that we do at the beginning. I learned this from Stanton Friedman, by the way. Stanton, he used to, when he did his presentations, he said he always saved these for the last, and he always wished that he would do them in the beginning, but he was always afraid to do them in the beginning. So we just, from day one, started doing them from the beginning, and because you can get so much data from your crowd on this stuff. But I want you to pay attention to what data is right here.
And we've also recorded unexplained synchronous anomalous phenomena. I'm sure the government's going to be using that probably soon in a press conference.
I'd say like December.
Yeah, it'll be USAP. That's going to be the next thing. You heard it here first. Anyway, as I said, we've recorded weird stuff. We have battery drains, illuminated stuff. We'll talk about all that later on. So how many of you guys have seen a Bigfoot? Raise your hand. You're in good company.
Okay, and not just seen a Bigfoot, but maybe even heard
Yeah.
or experienced something.
Experience a Bigfoot. Let's see that.
You've had some kind of Bigfoot-like encounter.
Okay, keep your hands up.
Keep your hands up.
Okay, guys. Here's another question for you. Out of that, how many of you guys have seen other paranormal activity?
All right.
Okay. Now, here's another one for you. How many of you just talked to your family and friends about it? Yeah.
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 How many of you? This is the big one.
How many of you reported?
How many of you guys actually
One.
went and did it? And you reported
Two.
it to a research agency?
Yeah. So this is what we're up against. And you ask why we do it? Validation.
Validation right there. And you saw that hand, right? The guy's got his hand up, and how many reported it? Yeah. I mean, it's pretty common. But you also noticed something else there, right, Brandon? How many of them had seen a possible Bigfoot or Bigfoot-like thing?
Oh yeah, they were like half the room had their hand up.
And how many of them had other paranormal type activity along with
Same amount
that?
of people. Yeah.
Pretty crazy. So, like I said, it was taken very well. And the amount of people who came to our table and told us about this, it was just amazing to me. I actually got more UFO reports at Hocking Hills Bigfoot Festival than I did in Kecksburg.
Wow.
Kid you not. It was very strange. And some of these, I mean, very good cases. There was one which looked like, sort of like the Withville craft. It was round, like a saucer type thing. It looked like she said it had lights all around it, like a carousel type thing. And watched it come down in a field, and then watched it literally just zip up, into the sky over the next area, and almost instantaneously zip up there and then out of sight.
Wow.
There was lots of those type incidents. There was several people who had contact type experiences. There were several who were asking about, what we always talked about, like perception and whatnot of these things. My whole point is that I did not expect this at a Bigfoot festival. I would dream of it, years ago, but to actually see that happening, that's a big deal, guys.
Haven't you, with your name, been trying to manifest this for years, though?
Yeah.
I mean, haven't you just kind of been speaking that out into the universe?
Pretty much. I mean,
Wild, yes, but also weird.
Wild and weird.
Yes, but also wild.
That's right.
You want both parts of it.
Yeah.
Probably feel a lot more safe bringing up those sort of really weird and strange, you're connected ones to you, or giving you one.
Oh yeah.
You ask for the other because they just want to tell. They just want to tell their story.
They do, man, and they don't want to be shot down. They don't want someone saying, "Oh no, you didn't see that. You couldn't have seen that. It doesn't exist." Like you said before, there's people who already know all the answers. That's not what they want. They want the ability.
Do all the answers wrong. They'd be me.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
So, no.
Therefore, it can't be. That's right.
Those are the kinds of guys that Gray Barker would be wanting to prank.
But that's the thing, though. Gray Barker, his chief interest, and if you read things like Gray Barker at Giant Rock, his chief interest was the people who had the experiences. And while he would say, there's some, he would say something strange happens to these people. They experience something that's really unexpected. And he goes, now some of their later stories aren't very believable, but initially something happens, and that's what fascinated him. All these people, if you read through the Saucerian, if you read through Chasing the Flying Saucers that he had in different magazines, if you read through Graybarker's newsletter, he's really mostly interested about the people, and it shows because he bothers to describe those people in a very sympathetic light, and goes out of his way to defend them a lot of times too. He defended Derenberger like publicly, and was really upset with how he was treated by the press.
Oh, it was bad.
Label
him as a drunk.
What's his face with the dog siding with Mothman? He kept constant contact with him.
Oh yeah.
Wrote letters back and forth all the time. He asked him what he thought of the new book. He sent him the chapter on that had to do with him on the Silver Bridge. He said, "What do you think of that?" And then going back and forth, and that guy complained. He says, "Well, I know it wasn't no owl, and I know it wasn't no stork.
Yeah.
I don't know what I saw, but it wasn't that.
I mean,
recognize that.
But that's the whole thing, I mean, I think it is. They're right about that. It is about the people. It's about making them understand it's okay. And I think that's one of the main things. I didn't play it, but one of the next things that we talk about there right at the beginning is we're not experts. We don't profess to be experts. We're here to provide data and maybe a little bit of validation. It's always about the validation for these people. They need to know that they're not the first one to see this. Regardless of what someone tells them, it happens. This is actually quite normal. Actually, no, you didn't get to tell me about the tree. I'm curious now. Nancy, thank you. Nancy White, $4.99, super sticker right there.
Oh yeah.
Super chat. I'm going to put that up there, let you guys see that. And I'm going to add Nancy and Ada, I believe it was. Yep. Going to add Nancy and Ada over to our roster of individuals who are making the show possible. I talked to people who saw orbs. Okay. I talked to one individual who saw what amounted to be a very large orb. And he observed it on the hillside. And he was there with a friend. He watched it come down. He watched it. Well, he didn't watch it come down. He watched it appear on the hillside is how it went. And it was huge. And he decided they watched it enough and he was going to go in and grab his phone and try to get some pictures of it, video of it. Mm-hmm. Goes inside, comes back out. It's gone. And his friend's like, well, it left. He's like, well, what do you mean it left? He's like, it blew into pieces and dispersed. Like all these little pieces shot off, like multiple.
Like a firework?
No, it was a big one solid orb. Mm-hmm. And then that's what I asked, and a big orb. And he said it literally just split into all these multiple pieces.
Oh, like a lava lamp.
And they all just shot off in different directions. Mm-hmm. Absolutely amazing. Who is messaging me on a live? Huh, okay. That's weird. All right, we got that. But yeah, we've had some incredible stuff going on out there. And people are seeing it. They're interpreting it in different ways. And I can't help but think back about some of those early contactee people when I hear these stories. Because, every now and again, you are going to get those people. You're going to get those ones who run a little with it, right? They get a little overboard. But at the heart of it, they still experience something.
Yep. I'm sure a lot of those people embellish their story a little bit to make it sound more valid.
Yeah, I can totally see that. But, and outright hoaxes are completely different. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. And I know that these people were not hoaxing. That's my thing. The ones that I talked to anyway. And I don't think that everyone is hoaxing. I think that there are people who are legitimately seeing these things, and then all of a sudden, well, we've heard this story before. Embellishments, like you said, right? Like especially if you start selling these things to a publication or a publisher or articles in papers or something. Well, you know, you got to keep that going once you start it.
Even with serious investigation, drift occurs.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, can you
Example,
speak to that a little bit? Yeah.
Vegetable Man story.
Great example.
Here recently.
Yes.
And, you know, it's a weird story.
It is.
Obviously. You know, you got a guy who's out bow hunting, and then suddenly he feels, you know, he hears a message in his head telepathically, I need help, you know, I need your assistance, that sort of thing. Then he feels a prick on his hand, like he thinks he's got his hand caught in a briar bush, and he looks down, and there's this little creature with needle little fingers and suckers on the end of them and big yellow eyes. And as he hears a sucking sound, and as it draws the blood out of his arm, suddenly those eyes turn red, and then it leaps, bounds back up into the forest with, you know, taking 25 feet at a leap. And then he hears a humming of what he assumes is a flying saucer, and then it's over, right?
Yeah.
Well, when it gets written up in the HumCat, you know, humanoid catalog, one thing gets changed. They say 25-foot steps. That's not a leap, is it? So everybody starts copying that. And then you get Brad Steiger, 1978, in his, what is that book called again? I forget. But he Alien Meetings, right? And he says he saw the creature, and then he felt a prick in his hand. That's the reverse order of what happens, and it doesn't even make any sense when you think about it.
Yeah, that's completely.
Feeling the prick in your hand and then seeing, oh wow, look at that. You know, I got to get out there. I mean, I got to get out of there is the first thing you probably think when you see this thing. I don't know if you've seen a picture of Vegetable Man, but
I've seen it. It's pretty terrifying, actually.
Yeah,
hey, Mana Smith, by the way, welcome. Yeah, it's not a pretty thing, is it? I mean, it's a very.
That is an unintentional drift. So many people have copied those two errors. So now you've got people out there who are otherwise really good researchers trusting the HumCat, trusting Brad Steiger, and getting the details wrong, and it's drifted like a game of telephone.
Yep.
Right? Well, when you get people that add their embellishments, they want to change a word or something so it sounds more like they're writing or this or that, and they're not thinking, Captain Thesaurus, that other word actually means something different.
Right.
Then they don't realize that what they're actually doing is they're changing the story as we go along, and that's why books like mine, to toot my own horn for a second, Ray Barker's Book of Monsters, Volume 1, Volume 2 is coming out soon. It has the original writings, so we can see what was actually written in the beginning. So you have the original account, not someone's editorialized version of it. The other thing that they do, and I'm glad that you don't do this, the other thing that they do is they don't include all of the data.
Yeah.
All of it. If it's strange, if it seems like it will cast doubt on it, they don't include it in their telling of the story. In the telling of his story, it's prefaced, Ray Barker prefaced it by, hey, look, his mother saw a flying saucer with some kind of creature. It looked totally different. It looked like a little devil, and it was tethered to a spaceship, and it had a little sack, and it was collecting grass and soil samples. Scared her so bad that she went and ran to her bed and hid under the covers for 15 minutes. Finally had the wherewithal to go outside and saw it going up into the spaceship and leaving, making a humming sound, which is why he assumed that the humming sound that he heard from Vegetable Man was from a flying saucer. But not only that, Gray Barker says, hey, Gray, at this point in telling this story, I'm surprised you didn't throw in the Men in Black. Well, hold on. And that's exactly how Gray Barker puts it, because there is, in fact, the Men in Black story in Frederick's thing. And that's not the only, I mean, he's got another alien contact story where he's communicated with telepathically. He's taken up into a ship. His clothes stay on, by the way. And, you know, that's the Zarkon thing. So he's got all sorts of things going on here. Now, if that's not high strangeness, I don't know what it is. It's gone well beyond weird at this point.
Yeah.
Has it not? We've got the Men in Black. We've got a mother sighting with a UFO occupant. He's seen his own alien, and then he has his own contactee experience. Now we put everything on the plate. So what do you think from the point of view of someone who's cheerfully skeptical? What am I going to do with that? Now I have one of two things that I can do with it. I can reject it outright because that's just too strange, or I can think of it from the point of view that I usually think of things from. I usually prefer what we call the psychosocial hypothesis. I don't think all of it catches into this. But the best example I give you is that the first and foremost, Kenneth Arnold saw a crescent or chevron-shaped UFO, flying saucer, did he not?
Mm-hmm.
But he described it as moving like a saucer skipping across a pond.
Yep.
Well, the newspapers printed flying saucers, and thereafter, the aliens apparently changed the shape of their spaceship to be a saucer, right? And now we've got triangle shapes, and what'd you call that again? A Borg and a, what's that called again?
That's the Borg and the bubble. Yeah, we've got
Borg
the
and a bubble. We got
Borg and the
triangles,
bubble.
Borgs in a bubble. We've got pill shaped. We got cylinders. We got giant motherships. We got all sorts of ships out there, right?
Yeah, we got acorns flying. You know,
Black triangles.
And we've always had so. Tad, the what was his last name that was here?
Jones.
Yeah. What's funny about his sighting is that John Keel in 1966, True Magazine, to accompany his article, the artist for True Magazine drew up a bunch of spaceships from his imagination. One of them happened to be perfectly round before landing here and a propeller on the bottom of it.
Yep.
And that's what Tad saw. Now, how weird is that? Now, did he see that and then just describe the ship? You know, why do we have the Indrid Cold sighting so close to the Mothman sighting? There is some high strangeness that happens. So here's what I think, because I know our mind does this little thing. Most of our thinking is not actually conscious. Thank goodness, because if I had to think about every time I have to breathe, I don't know how I'd get by. Or every time I have to blink, or doing the math to take a step. You know, you can't do it. So most of what you do is done subconsciously. If your mind sees something that it's not quite sure what it is, it's going to fill in the blanks based on your worldview. So if I look at Vegetable Man now, and I think of it from that point of view, and I think that they are in fact seeing something, and I see that the mother, who's more superstitious, more Christian, she saw the alien as a satanic. I actually use the word satanic like it looked like a little devil or an imp. The devil alien. But he saw something completely different. And now I wonder to myself, knowing that the mind fills in things according to your experience and to what you know and what you kind of expect, I wonder if they didn't see the same alien, but perceived it a different way, in a different form.
And this is what we're kind of finding out with some of this current way of thinking, that there may be something there that can manipulate just what you just said, like the perceptions, right?
Well, what if it's not manipulating? What if we just can't see it? Something comes through the
good.
veil, so to speak.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Something comes through the veil. Our mind subconsciously is trying to categorize it, identify it, filter it, trying to figure, okay, this is what that is. But it's going to be unique to each person because we have unique experiences. We have unique cultures and unique backgrounds. You know, and this might explain why in South America in the 50s you were having these little hairy dwarves, and you were having these little men with their little pails of bucket over in California at the same time.
Yep.
They weren't hairy. You know, it might explain why, you know, the aliens have changed. What fascinates me though is that even within all of that, you have things like the Flatwoods Monster and the Vegetable Monster and the Pascagoula creature and things that are just so far out of the norm. And that actually makes sense. Most people are going to have a general concept because they're not really, maybe they don't have that, they haven't consumed a lot of movies or sci-fi. They haven't studied UFOs and whatnot. So that when they see something like this, their mind's going to go gray. Or it's going to go ghost.
Right.
Or it's going to go, you know, something along those lines that meets their worldview's requirements. That's demon.
Yep.
And I'm not saying the supernatural doesn't exist. I am a Christian. I've written books from the Christian perspective. I believe in God, angels, demons, what have you. Okay? That's not where I'm coming from. I'm just saying from the perspective of if something is coming through the veil and we can't figure out what it is, our mind's going to interpret it.
Yes.
Whether you like it or not.
Yes.
We're kind of the co-pilot.
Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true. Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. Adam, Kenneth Arnold had a pet owl. Well, I had a pet owl too, but it wasn't a pet. It was a rescue. But it was a real owl. I'm pretty sure.
Wait a minute. Why weren't you sure it was a real owl?
It's a joke. You know.
It wasn't Mothman. Maybe it was Braxy.
No, it really wasn't. It was.
I mean, name a cryptid.
No, it was an owl.
The Grafton monster. That's a bunch.
Oh my gosh, that's a great one. So I had a little sketch that I did of the Grafton monster. Someone picked it up there on the table. It was like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "That's a good question. I don't." I mean, I think that's probably a really good example of, going around a curve at 50 miles an hour, seeing something by the road, and letting your mind do what you just said a little bit ago, and do its best at interpreting what you just saw. But
I think honestly, he probably might have actually seen a mangy bear because they have that grayish skin underneath.
Well, it's totally possible, man. I mean,
somebody suggested a polar bear at the time, and somebody's like, "Has a polar bear escaped anywhere?"
Polar bear? Jeez.
Seriously, that was one of the
Oh my
suggestions
gosh.
in the newspapers. Polar
Wow.
bear, and it was like, well, "That's left field."
Oh wow. No, but
Well, I mean, you think like that though.
yeah.
And then you like read a report of there's a monster in where was it? It was in South Africa.
Yeah.
And one of the sightings is like somebody says, and it's this same creature we've been seeing all this time, but this time it looked like a hippo. And then somebody's like, well, we actually did lose a hippo.
Yeah.
It's probably the hippo. So that one becomes like the one outlier in this whole group of it was probably giant snakes.
Oh, have you heard about the breeding population of hippos that's in South America after that one drug lord died?
What?
His own personal
Out of
zoo
place
them.
animals, especially when they were kept as pets or something.
Oh, geez.
Like that. It creates all sorts of issues for any kind of serious study of cryptids.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah,
I
there's
mean,
gonna be a
you
lot of
expect that
weird
to be
cryptid
there.
sightings.
I mean, I can totally see it though.
I saw a dinosaur swimming across the ocean or the river.
Well, I mean, I could see that. I could see someone doing just that. I did meet some people whilst at Hocking Hills, and I'm going to do a call out on these guys, and then we're going to do a drawing. Actually, we're going to do a spin. I just entered their names over here, and we're going to see who wins. But we're going to do a drawing for a couple of prizes, and this is for them because they took the time to actually come to the booth, talk to us quite a bit. Scan the QR code and join right there on the spot and become members of the channel. So we seriously thank you guys, and I had some great ones come up. We had Sammy and Brittany. They brought over a track for us to look at, which was really cool. It was one of the first tracks that he had cast, and it was really good. It wanted some advice on how to do it, and we provided that, and we'll continue to provide that. We had Emma Hasty with the junior researcher Mia, which was just fantastic. Definitely going to be a researcher in the future right there. I have no doubt in my mind. Heidi, Bigfoot cosplay, Binocular Girl, and Ari and Jordan. Yeah, these two were a trip. They decided to cosplay at a Bigfoot festival. And I got to say, don't know which one's which. I think it was Ari, I believe, maybe. Had this safari type suit on. Kind of looked like a cross between Indiana Jones and Giorgio Tsoukalos. But had binoculars on, and really good binoculars. And I was like, hey, what? That's how we started this whole conversation. Was like, wow, what power are those? She had no idea. She looks on the side and was like reading them like, what? And Joe's like, you're cosplaying. She's like, yeah. I'm like, it's a great one. I don't know where you got the binoculars, but they're awesome. We had Jordan, Kat, Ashley Balzer, Reggie Foshbog, Rocco, and Brandon Hall. Dan and Pierce also dropped by. I mean, we did. I don't know how many things we did this year, but I remember. I know I've done about 7 presentations this year. That's remarkable, and they're all just a little bit different. So you guys are asking for it. That's why we're doing them. We're not going out and saying, "Hey, come over here and get us. We have presentations to pick us." No, they're contacting us because you guys are showing an interest in this stuff, and we have data, and we want to share that data. And so, yeah, thanks for coming out there and supporting us and listening to us ramble on for 45 minutes or an hour or whatever it is. And I'll be doing the same thing with Tony and Angie there at the paranormal group discussion thing as well.
Here, the last Wednesday of the month, is it?
Yeah.
We had to cancel last time because of an issue with the facility. We're looking.
That's what they told you.
I figured with all the cancellations going on between you and me that the Men in Black are somehow involved.
Something was going on.
I'm going to blame them because they'll never correct me.
Yeah. Well, folks, I think that's going to wrap us. We're approaching the 2:30 mark. I want to thank Tony for being here and expounding his vast wisdom tonight. It's what he does, You can find Tony.
So we should mention one thing, though.
Yeah.
Right? You are going to be there again at the end of the month at the Paranormal Discussion Group.
Oh, yeah.
And we are both, Wild and Weird and myself, are going to be at Mysticon October the 7th, Saturday, October the 7th.
That's right.
Ravenswood Library.
Yep.
Stick around after the show. My band's going to play.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to do that. I got to hear that. That's awesome. I haven't played in years. You're going to make me want to play again. Anyway, you guys, what a great show. Absolutely fantastic show. I'm sure, you're literally at almost every one of our shows too. So they'll run into you out there is what I'm trying to get at. Make sure you do check out Tony. Make sure you do try to come down to the Paranormal Discussions group. It is a lot of fun. Always a bunch of just interesting topics. Oh, yeah. One time we went down to the Nitro War Museum and conducted an actual, investigation type demonstration kind of thing there. And, I've heard things on dreams and dreaming at this point, and we've had extra dimensional, which was great. And you did your Gray Barker thing. I missed that one. Actually,
that's what I'm going to be doing again at Mysticon. So
okay.
You will have a chance to see that one again at Mysticon.
Okay, awesome.
Something about Gray Barker. I at least knew something.
And I will be basically going over the whatever turns out to be the case for contact at this point. I think the case is, like I said, solved at this point. I think it's closed. There's some kind of contact, but I'm going to go into it more in depth as to more than just a physical aspect of it. And if we have any experiencers out there, I invite them. This will be a place where you can just come and talk, because we're going to be talking about some stuff. This will be stuff presented at this one that I have not presented at any of the other ones.
Yeah, it's a smaller venue.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of room. Hopefully the air conditioning doesn't fail.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. We have some of the best people on the planet who listen to this show. I'm not just saying that. You guys really make the show. And we're keeping it going for you guys. Like I said, we've got other things to do. You're going to see us out there at a few more shows. We'll be at Crypto Bash, August 19th. There it is. August 19th, you'll catch us there. You'll catch us at Flatwood, September 9th, October 7th, Mysticon, as you mentioned. September 16th, 17th, Mothman Festival. November 17th, 19th, Cryptid Con. We'll be speaking there, actually. You'll definitely want to catch that. and that's going to be really, really cool. The one that's not on there is the powwow. That's in October as well, and I don't remember when. I'll put that up later. But yeah, we got a few things that we'll be doing, so you still got time to come out and catch us at one of the shows this year. And if you have caught us at one of the shows, feel free to let us know what you think. You know, it's all about feedback. That's how we do these things. So, gentlemen, is there anything you'd like to mention? Tony, anything that you got coming up that you want to plug really quick? October 15th, Joe said, for the powwow.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Other than Mysticon, I don't have anything coming up at this point. I'm working on Gray Barker's book of Monsters Volume 2. If you want to check out my stuff, it's at TonyBreedenBooks.com. So
TonyBreedenBooks.com, people. Once again, I want to thank those guys. There you go. There it is. The big book of monsters there. Executive producer Adam Good, Teresa from Teresa's Haunted History, Dewey Edwards, James Bogg, Spooky Appalachia, Larry Host, Guitars and Chains, Craig, Travis Rednick, Jeffrey Steele, Russ Bailey, Chris Coots, Ada, I believe Cox, Nancy was also on there. I got to add these guys to it, and I believe that's the newest ones we've got. So I want to make sure everybody gets their credit. Man, you guys are making the show. I had no idea when we started doing this that many people would really be interested, and I'm so thankful. Thank you all. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. I'm Ron. That's Brandon frozen in the middle with his arms up, doing some kind of weird Pink Floyd hammer thing. I think.
Really, I'm frozen?
Yeah, man. You're like doing the hammer thing from the wall. I don't know. That's what you're doing, dude. It's like, what? What's going on here? Is this not what you expected to see? No, it's not.
Metal now.
I don't. All right. We're out of here, guys. Take care. We'll see you next Thursday at 8 o'clock for some more shenanigans. And Joe's supposed to be here. If he's not, aliens.
Men in Black.